guys, here we are today at the Rotorua racecourse. I'm taking Aria for a walk. Hang on, I'll just show you Aria. There she is, there's my little girl. And we're going to go for a walk around the racecourse. All the way around there. And around here. And back to where we started. So I'm going to try something a bit different today. I hope you can see me okay. I'm just going to walk and talk. I haven't really got much planned, so we'll just see how we go. Come on, Aria. Today I wanted to discuss where I am today, where my journey began. So, as a child, I was a very quiet child. I was brought up by my parents, my grandparents, and lots of aunties and uncles along the way. My mum and dad were very hard working. They often worked in the evenings. So yeah, I spent a lot of time not only with my family, but with my extended family as well. And I'm not sure if you can still tell by my accent, I was actually born in England and I moved to New Zealand when I was 15. Just keeping an eye on the dog. So yeah, so I think even from the beginning, I wasn't an anxious child, but a little bit of anxiety when I was a child. There were people around me, some people, not all the people, some of the people around me were anxious people, had phobias, that kind of thing. And now in therapy I've learned that a lot of behaviour can be genetic regarding anxiety, depression, those kinds of things. So that makes a lot of sense to me now. I love all my family, don't get me wrong. I'm not saying I was badly raised or anything like that, it was far from it. But there were signs in the beginning that this could have been my path. Anyway, I'll skip forward now. In my 20s, I experienced my first panic attack. Before I had my first panic attack, I was on holidays, beautiful holiday. Now there's some dogs coming, so I'll just pause that and get back to you. Right, dog situation averted. Where were we? Right, so I was on holiday, this beautiful resort, and you can probably see I've got quite pale skin. So I'd been at the resort for about a week, and back in those days, it was quite fashionable to be tanned and brown. So people kept coming up to me and saying, "Oh, is it your first day?" And I was getting more and more angry because if I go and sit in the sun, I just go pink and peel. I don't really go brown. So anyway, by about a week's time, people kept saying this to me all the time. I did a really silly thing. My first husband, because I'm on my second marriage now, at the time he went diving for the day. So I sat myself up near the pool with a cocktail, absolutely no sunblock, and I sat there. So that was fine. He came back, we went back and started getting ready for dinner. And I started feeling really, really ill. My head was spinning, my head was pounding. I felt nauseous. I basically felt like I was going to pass out. So I didn't eat dinner So heading on back to our room after he'd eaten his dinner, I basically collapsed and vomited and made it back to our room. He actually left me there alone after this episode and went back to dinner. As you can probably tell by now, there's reasons I'm not in that marriage anymore. Not saying anything bad about him, we just weren't a very good fit. And anyway, for the next couple of days, I felt like, I don't know if you've ever had the experience of being on a boat for a long time and then you get off the boat and you're all sort of shaking from side to side. That was what my head felt like. So in the end, I had severe sunstroke and I could have died. So yeah, it took me about a week to get back to normal. I was still in a foreign country, so yeah, it was all quite a traumatic experience for me, as you can imagine. Anyway, a few months later, we were going overseas again. Come on, Aria. And again, it was a hot place. We were going to Perth in Australia, and it was in summertime. And I remember I was in the shade. We were going out somewhere for lunch and I was fine. And then I walked into the sunshine, and it's a very hot day at lunchtime, and I had this massive panic attack. I didn't know what it was at the time, but it was a panic attack. My heart was beating. I felt like I was going to pass out. I was all sweaty, couldn't breathe. I actually, I was overheating. I was actually wearing jeans that day, so I made my husband go and buy me some shorts, and I got changed. And that was the beginning of it for me. So even today, if I'm in a place where I feel hot, like it's a really hot day, or I'm in the supermarket and they've got the heater on and I'm boiling, that can bring me on to a panic. So also, as you can probably guess, at the time, the relationship I was in, I don't want to go into details of that, but that relationship didn't help. I'll put it this way. It was a controlling relationship. From my opinion. He would have a different opinion. He'd say it was my fault for not speaking up, but I felt like every move I made was watched. Actually, I am going to say a few things because they're true, so not to upset anyone, but to get it off my chest. He would call me names. At the time, I would have been about 64 kilos, so I've gained a lot of weight since that relationship. And he would call me the Michelin Man. He would say, he was always, one of the first things he did was put me on a diet, and that was when I was 64 kilos. I could go on and on forever, but I don't want to do that. That's just to give you an idea. It was a controlling relationship, and I never felt good enough because I was always put down. I was told I wasn't good enough, I wasn't pretty enough, I wasn't slim enough. And if someone tells you that, there were other things as well, which I won't go into here, but if someone tells you that enough, you start to believe it. And as I was saying before, when I was a child, I wasn't the most confident child to start off with. Now I've lost track of where I am. Right, so yeah, that started to happen when I felt too hot. Now, moving on, I was getting more and more panic attacks. And this would be happening not just when I was hot, this would be happening when I was out at the supermarket or anywhere that was away from home, because home was, I guess at the time, that was the only place I felt safe. So this was happening on a regular basis. I went to counselling when I was about 30, and one of the first things he asked me was, how was your relationship? And I said fine, because at the time I thought that was fine. You'll have to excuse my face being in the shade, but I have to wear a hat in the sun because I'm a melanoma survivor. That's a story for another day. Yeah, so I went to therapy. That was the first time when I was about 30. And I honestly didn't find that very helpful. But I think it was, as I alluded to in my previous video, I think that was because I wasn't being honest. So that didn't go very well at all. I've had therapy lots of times since then. And I feel like now I'm in a good place. Oh, there's another doggy coming, so we might have to take a little pause. I feel like now I'm in a good place to be ready to take therapy seriously and to listen. So I'll just pause this because there's another doggy coming. So dog situation averted. Ari is actually great with other dogs, but you have to be careful with some of the other dogs somewhere. So where did we come from? We came from over there. So we're about halfway through. Ari's just running around. She loves it here. Right, where was I? Losing my hat. Okay, so yeah, I was having lots of therapy, and I've come a long way since then. Therapy wasn't working for me, but it seemed to start working better when I got out of my first relationship, first marriage. And again, I'm not blaming him. Takes two people to make a marriage, doesn't it? But I'm just telling you from my perspective. Ooh, I'm almost losing my hat. This is a little windy, but okay. So, and then I met my wonderful husband, Steve. We've been married now for, I always get the amount of time wrong. So we've been married, I think, for 12 years now. And wonderful, much different relationship than I was in before. I feel like I can be myself. I feel very loved, very safe. So that has helped a lot with my anxiety. I still have anxiety now, but that's one of the reasons I'm going back to counselling. I feel like I've made a lot of improvements, but I still do need help with some things that happened to me in the past. And I definitely don't want to go into that. So, like, try and explain where I was before I left my first marriage. Basically, it got to the stage where I couldn't leave the house. Our mailbox was down a driveway. It was a long driveway, but it was definitely walkable. I couldn't even walk to the mailbox without feeling panic. Even when I couldn't, there was a supermarket very close by, but when I was alone, because my husband was away a lot, I would actually drive down to the shop, which was just down the driveway, because I was that scared of walking. I was terrified of walking. So as you can imagine, walking around this race course, this is a huge deal for me. I couldn't have done this 10 years ago. I would have been in the flipping ringing the ambulance because I'd be so scared. Yeah, so then I met Steve, and yeah, totally different. So now that I feel like I'm in a safe relationship, I'm spending the time now working on myself. So what I did first was, also due to my first relationship, I was drinking alcohol every night to sort of numb the pain, the loneliness. I felt like that the only way I could get a break from the anxiety was to drink, because that would numb my emotions. I'm listening to myself talk, and I'm talking about it very matter of fact. But sometimes you just have to. If I started with the emotions, I'd be bawling my eyes out, and I've got to get Ari around the race course. So where was I? Yes, first thing I did was I stopped drinking. So that wasn't easy, so I will talk about that also in another video. Then I started walking again, and again it's because I've got a very supportive partner. He knows how it feels to have anxiety, so if I say to him, look, I'm not feeling too good, can we go back? He'll say, yeah, sure, fine. Whereas in my past relationship, if I was having a panic, he'd be like, oh, just get over it, you know? If I'm feeling sad, just get over it. He didn't understand, so we'll put it that way. He was just doing what he thought was best. So Steve has really helped. And yeah, I've given up drinking. I started walking again. And then before then I got melanoma, which I'll talk about in another video. But that was a real wake-up call for me. When someone informs you that you might die, I'm not a religious person, but I actually prayed to God. And I said, if I don't die, God, if you save me, I'll start taking better care of myself. And that's what I've been doing. So yeah, I'm very proud of myself that I can get out here by myself and walk around this huge race course, because I could not have done that before. I've given up drinking. I started eating my fruits and vegetables. I meditate. All those good things. And then I was doing all these good things, and I was still having anxiety. So I love my doctor. I've got a really good doctor. We talked about some things that happened during this relationships, and I just can't go there. So I just don't even want to go there. And she said, oh, there's a new counselling program that might help you. So yeah, I contacted someone from, I won't tell you where, but there's a reason for that, but I won't tell you where. But and since then they assessed me and said, yep, you've got PTSD, anxiety, and from PTSD that covers obviously the anxiety, depression, the nightmares I'd been having. And that was quite a shock, actually, because I knew I was in a bad way, but I didn't realise I had PTSD. You think of PTSD as just something that you get when you're in a war or something like that, but any trauma can cause PTSD. Yeah, that's quite a shock. But I've acknowledged that now, and because of that, I've been able to be properly diagnosed, and someone to say to me, what happened to you was not okay. That's been huge. So I think it's a combination of Steve's support, getting diagnosed with melanoma, and finally getting a diagnosis and treatment is where I am now. And I think I'm in a good place. I still get anxiety, but the counsellor I was seeing, she's amazing. She's given me like a toolbox of things I can use to help me when I feel anxious. I still get depressed, and I still get those feelings of, feeling worthless. And I think that's going to take a long time, because when someone tells you you're worthless and that no one else could ever love you apart from me, that you're unlovable, those kinds of things, you start to believe it. And now I know those things aren't true, because for number one, I love myself for the first time in decades. I have a husband who loves me dearly. I have Aria who loves me dearly. I have family who love me. It's not true. And I'm a good person. I deserve to be loved. Yeah. So, I wasn't sure what I was going to say today. That's gone on quite long, hasn't it? I hope that gives you a bit more of an insight about me, what I've been through, even though it's not everything I've been through, because as I say, there's some things that I just don't want to share. And it's not that I don't want to share, it's just I think it's sometimes some things aren't appropriate to share, put it that way. I share with people who are very close to me, people I trust, the whole magnitude of the situation. So we're almost at the end of our walk. I'll probably leave it there. It feels really good to get this off my chest. I suppose this is really why I'm doing the videos. If people watch them, that's great, but it's really a way for me to process what I'm learning. And if I do have a rough day, I can go back and listen to myself to remind me of what I've been through and how far I've come, because I've come a long, long way. As I said, 10 years ago, if we'd come here, I remember one time, all we had to do was go to the real estate agent, and I drove us there because Steve doesn't drive, and I sat in the car and I couldn't get from the curb to the shop right in front of me. I was that terrified. So I've come a long way. Give myself a pat on the back. Okay, we're coming to the end of our walk now. I'll show you when I finish up here. So I was going to say if you enjoyed the video. I don't think that this is an enjoyable video. If you got something out of the video, press like. Subscribe to the channel if you'd like to hear more about my journey and the tools I'm using to combat anxiety, depression, PTSD, all those lovely mental health issues. Or if you just want to keep in contact with me, subscribe to the channel. I'm trying to, I'm about 3 months into my therapy now, so I'm going to be doing a few videos, hopefully a week, so we can catch up to where I actually am, because that will make it easier for me. Here she is. Here she comes. Aria! Where have you been? Aria, come. Aria, come on. Here she is. See you later, guys.